We had limited gas, diesel on the island, limited water. At one point, we ran out of all three of them. One of the few agencies that came immediately and helped us and probably saved this island was the United States Coast Guard.
The Coast Guard. So many people have been telling me about the Coast Guard.
In my mind, Frank Sanchez and Alexis Pimentel, who were Coast Guard people with ties to Vieques, who came over here and asked for permission and then tried to maneuver humanitarian relief. 5 vessels from the Coast Guard who brought fuel, who brought water, who brought communications, who pulled over and pulled the mayor out and said, like, what do you want to say to the world? We have no way out, no communication.
Did the mayor tell the National Guard to leave?
I don't think he told them. I wouldn't be able to speak for the mayor, so I don't know if he told them to leave. I know that at one point he was asked, what they needed or not, and he said, there was a famous letter that went around saying that if they needed more help or less help from the National Guard. So I wouldn't be able to.
So let me ask you this. I keep hearing that the mayor was MIA.
I think one of when they're talking about the mayor, it's like when the hurricane happened, there was like a shock, and there was a lot of people who were not able to get together, and there was a community backup to that government system that had to be put into place to work with everybody. I think that the reality is that this emergency showed us that the private sector and the humanitarian relief that came from the people who were trying to help, who maybe didn't have that job or didn't have that, was necessary, or would have been ultimate chaos, much more than what it was. And I think it shows that the agencies and the governments have to find a better way to include the community they have and the resources they have around them. I think in this point, if it wasn't for the private support that Puerto Rico and Vieques have, we'd be in a lot more dire straits. And now there's a work that's being done with the federal government, with the state government, that's kind of caught up. But at the beginning, it was very scary.
I know you have a lot of pictures and videos that you're going to share with us. Tell me about the good things that have been done.
Well, at the beginning, it was, quite honestly, it was very interesting that what you think you need is sometimes not as clear as it says in the books or the protocols. Like, we had Robert Becker, who was a good friend.
Sorry, a unique situation. Usually the slot slides over. I was running out of card space. It wouldn't, I had to pull it out to keep going. We're speeding.
Yeah, so Robert Becker was a good, big part of Vieques Love. He's the first private plane. Vieques Love puts it in here, and they're like figuring out what do we put in it. What was the first thing they need? FEMA, nobody's there, and so like, okay, we'll put 11 sat phones in it. We'll put a bunch of cash, because the island didn't have any cash. No ATMs. Bank closed. The people with food stamps, nothing. Until Generation Gift, these people who had stayed here once came with satellite internet and opened up an ATM and opened up the supermarket. Private. There's so many things that happened because the people who donated to Vieques Love and these other organizations were able to facilitate things that the system didn't have. The protocol wasn't there. It didn't exist for it. They weren't prepared, but they also didn't have a way to fix it. So having the cash from the donations, we were in the pharmacy with a backpack full of money because there was no way of verifying people's plans. So people weren't getting their medicine. They were opening up asthma things and stucking them down.
Just at the pharmacy?
Yeah, 'cause I had to, and I was there with money, cash. Like,
How much?
Tens of thousands at times.
How much?
Tens of thousands at times. We brought in the first load of cash, and then we figured out. I was at the pharmacy saying, like, wait a minute, like, the system, let's just show you how communications and internet and all that, they couldn't verify people's health plan.
Right.
So it was all full cost.
That is true, and that was happening on the Big Island as well. That pharmacists were just giving people medicine and saying, "I'll worry about the billing them later."
Well, that didn't happen here because they couldn't communicate with their bosses. It's a franchise.
Oh.
So we gave them sat phones and all that, and eventually figured out.
Wow.
Governor Pataki, for example, helped a lot with bringing people with communications and fuel and stuff. But at the beginning, there wasn't fuel for the emergency vehicles. There wasn't fuel for the ambulances. There weren't fuel for the police cars and all that. And then cash like that kind of helped. And it was mayhem at one point. And I think that people didn't realize that we are.
There goes the ferry.
Tied to the ferry as a lifeline. And the ferry gets put away in a hurricane in San Juan. Days from here, even before they clear the harbor.
One man said, "That is our road."
That is
That is our road.
Legitimately, legally, that is our road. And they're about to change all the prices and immediately raise the quality of life and the cost of the life here and lower the quality of life by putting higher tariffs on the ferry for the people that live here, for the people who are coming here, for the suppliers. Everything comes through there.
So I'm still unclear on who's in charge of Vieques Love. Like, who runs it? Is there a president?
Yeah, there is a president, Giovanni Ojeda. There is a board of directors, and he has.
Are you on the board?
No, I'm a volunteer now, becoming an employee, because we all realized that we had a momentum from people who have a desire to help Vieques and a responsibility to transfer the funds and the skills in a good way. This island had a lot of things that were, visible to people from the history of Vieques, which is a very complicated one, but also needs. We have no higher education past high school except diving. Zero. We have no real hospital right now, this many months after the hurricane, We have so many things that are tied to that ferry, that what you have is a community that we want to empower, but if we don't do education, right now there's kids going 3 times a week to school because there are not enough teachers. In high school, it's supposed to go to college. No college here, no university, no community college, no tech school, nothing. So when we look at Vieques and the amount of money that wants to be invested in here, privately and fairly, we have to look at those things and say they deserve the proper transportation, they deserve the proper health, and they most definitely need the education and the empowerment so that they can become, because people come here and it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. People come here. I gotta tell you that the truth is that I've been able to corral people like you or people with other skills that have power and influence and say, hey, well, look at the island. And I know they're gonna come back, and I know they're gonna help, and I know they're gonna go back and say, no, Vieques is real. Their problems are real, and it is magnificent, and it's magic. That combination of things brings a lot of opportunities, but they should be for the people here. It shouldn't be to turn it into just to a tourism haven so other people can come see how pretty the beaches are.
And Mark, by the way, is from Puerto Rico. I mean, you grew up on the Big Island. Where exactly?
I grew up in the metropolitan area, so San Juan and all that area.
But you've been here for
2,000 years.
Okay.
No, I'm 25 years.
Okay, but I want to get back to, because so many people, and you'll appreciate this, so many people have asked me, where's the money going? How do I track the money? Like, how do I know that somebody didn't slip 50,000 of that 1 million in a pocket?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we have a accountant and we have books that are kept really well. But I think you hit on a good point, and I think that covers the private and the federal one. It's like,
Absolutely.
where is this money going?
Absolutely.
And is it being put to good use?
Sure. Sure.
One of the things that happened was that there were a lot of people coming around, organizations that I don't even remember. They were like, and they're asking for money in the name of Vieques, and so be it. We are lucky that we have the accounting, and we're applied to a series of different other organizations that we have all the tracking movement to see it, but there are a lot of people who didn't. Also, we have to question the efficiency of the process. FEMA should be looking at the way they deal with emergencies and disasters and their efficiency. I mean, I saw the generator for a hospital. It had 7, 8, 9 assessment. People coming in, assessments to check which generator they needed.
Yep.
They came in helicopters. How much does that cost? And they came with a lot of different times to check of the process that cost probably more than what it needed.
That's fair, but the pushback on that is everybody was raising hell and high water about what FEMA was doing, and FEMA was simply throwing as much as they could at everything. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I hear you, and that's a valid thing. Are we spending money wisely? But at the same time, they're doing anything and everything they can.
Yeah, no, I understand that FEMA, especially now when they have the time to put their feet down and look at it, are doing a much better job. One of the things they're doing in Vieques that I think it's a good move, it's restructuring some of the systems for resiliency. And, because mathematically, what are you going to do? The reality is that we're getting more storms, more hurricanes. I think it's a wake-up call from Vieques to the world, too, and from all these places that were impacted, that the climate change is going to keep producing these kind of things. And there's no financial, intelligent way to keep fixing. Rather, you have to build right. And in the beginning, I'm not saying, oh, they're horrible, they're all that. I mean, we could talk about the president's attitude towards it in the beginning and as it continues. But I think what we all have to look at it in a different way. Even if it was part of the way they operated, I don't think it's going to be a way they can operate anymore. It's not going to function that way because we're going to have too many storms. One of their claims is you had Harvey, you had Irma, you had Maria. Depleted resources, depleted people. Well, that's going to keep happening.
We've been told that we have to get on the boat a lot sooner than we thought, so we're having to hurry up and eat as we do the interview. Thank you very much. And please share in this as we continue. How effective is the municipal government in the rebuilding and recovery?
How effective are they? I think they are at the mercy of what the federal government and the state government can allow them to do and capacitate them to do. I don't think they have the capacity in equipment, in protocols, in personnel to actually handle a huge recovery effort. And right now we're not even prepared for an next hurricane. When tropical storms come close, we all kind of look at each other like, hey, we should be a little bit farther ahead in being prepared. Didn't we learn enough? So I think that what should happen is that and there's another thing what I think that FEMA or the federal government should do, is to train and build capacity in the municipalities like this, including the community members and the community groups, so that they can handle a lot. Because unless you have FEMA stationed here forever, when the next hurricane comes, it'll take them weeks again, and it will take the same kind of effort of transportation. So either you stage what you need for the emergency, or you build capacity with the people. The municipality does not have the capacity at the moment to deal with major disasters or recovery efforts.
It's one thing to just throw money at people and say, here's money.
No,
but you have to empower them to
right.
make good use of the money. What is a good use of the millions of dollars that Vieques is going to get?
Yeah, well, one of the things that you mentioned is like to help the systems that would provide the health and emergency response that they just simply don't have. The emergency response doesn't have the equipment to deal with any type of emergency or response. They barely have the basics. The health system, we don't have a real hospital. We never really did have a real working hospital, where now we're like in dire straits, So when it comes again, are we really gonna sit there reliving the same? I think we should focus on those. They are private efforts and that are gonna keep pushing like us for education, because it covers so much of the end result. But at one point, you have to start with some of the basic things that you don't have, which are, health, security, safety, and in our case, transportation becomes an elemental one because it's how a lot of these things happen. I think, however, if you throw money at people and you don't have a way for them to deal with it, it's just gonna go to waste in some way. So I think you hit the right word, empower. And I think that one of the things that's happening in Vieques is everybody looking at a mathematical equation and not really looking at the people and what they need to be empowered. Because you could look at it and say, hey, well, you need a hospital, do this math, you need economy. Oh, I can put 3 hotels and do the math, bring cruise ship. Not really what I want, obviously, as an environmentalist, but also not really based on what the community wants. So I think we have to look at what it needs. And I think that the empowering those services of health, transportation, education, and safety, but also giving the people the power to grow within what this island could become. I think one of the things that's going to happen with Vieques, which I have a little bit hope for, is that it's being looked as a model. It's like a microcosm of Puerto Rico, and although it's different, it's a small island in the Caribbean dealing with these disasters and with this lack of infrastructure that it has. So there's investment going into that. A new distribution grid, new types of microgrids and things like that. Yet to see it in the education department, where I think it's probably the most. But at the same time, when the hurricanes or disasters hit, you have the speculation going on. You know what they say, sometimes when there's blood in the street, buy property and things like that. So a lot of what's happening is people are looking at, oh, well, by the way, we could fix their problem and give them a few hundred jobs while I build this different Vieques. while I build this, great glamorous thing. And that scares me. Right now, there's lands for sales from the government of Puerto Rico that I'm not really sure who's going to buy them or what they're going to do with them. Not that I have to know, Vieques should know. And I don't think you have people that can accurately tell you what all these thousands of acres are going to be sold for, what other projects are being sold for, what the municipality land that was given back from the Navy will be used for, and is that going to be a sustainable thing? Is that going to be a thing for the community here? One of the great things about ecological tourism is that it includes the community and the people who live there. It's not just the great animals, the whales, the turtles, and all that. It's also the people who are from the community. And that's what I think that they should focus in with the money.
I am so glad I found you and talked to you.
I'm so glad you came, because the reality is that Vieques is somewhat forgotten or badly expressed. You took the time to come to the ferry, to go to the dialysis patients, talk to the people, and present the real thing to the world. And the reality, they'll listen to you. So that's what we want. People who can influence it, who can have the right press, not the sensational, like, look at this, they light in the cute beach and the people. This is a real story, so I appreciate it.
We will tell it, and we'll give it a good bit of time on national television. So, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching.